草で絡まってる家なんて全然違うでしょ。もう草が絡まってるでしょ。もう屋根からね、ね、その右の屋根から隣の屋根に飛び移って駆け抜けて、その緑色の壁があるでしょ、緑と青っぽい、そのところに飛びついて配管をよじ登ってですね、屋根の上を走ってさらに向こうのビルに行くっていうのをアニメーションでやったら面白いでしょ。それで電線の上歩けたら向こう側にも行けるはずなんですよ。もう上から見ると本当に全部むき出しにいろんなものが見えるんですよ。ブロック塀の上を走り抜けることできるはずなんですよ。そうやっただけでね、つまんない街だと思ってるとかとんでもない映画の舞台になるんですよ。そうやって見ると結構面白いでしょ。面白いんですよ。はるか向こうまで行けそうな気がするよね。いけんじゃないかな。
If you ask anyone in the age group between, let's say, 18 to 30, the general millennial era, about Hayao Miyazaki, they'll probably say that they love them, and he's kind of like the grandfather of our generation, making amazing movies that really capture our childhood and nostalgia. If they say they hate them, they're probably still salty he called otakus a mistake. And yet, despite everyone's love of him, if you asked most people to tell you about his history and how he got started making these glorious movies, or what inspired him to do so, they probably couldn't tell you much, if anything at all. This of course includes myself before this presentation, but I'm also a certified dumbass, so take that with a grain of salt. Anyway, I learned a lot about him, so now I'm going to teach all of you about him. Here we go. Hayao Miyazaki was born on January 5th, 1941. He's still alive, which makes him 77, I believe. And he was born in some Japanese town that I can't pronounce the name of, so I'm going to put the name on screen. World War II was still going on when he was born. His father actually was the director of Miyazaki Airplane, which manufactured rudders for fighter planes during World War II. That business has left him with a love of airplanes, and you can see many cool aircraft that he designs in his movies. And I would say that the impression of the war, as his family escaped a bombing and evacuated when he was 3 years old, I would say that definitely left a pretty big impact on him, which you can also see in a lot of his movies. As he grew up, Miyazaki was mostly interested in manga, not animation. This is something not a lot of people know since he's well known for animation, and not so much for his manga, which is unfortunate because he does a really cool manga. The main reason he had trouble making manga was because he wasn't very good at drawing people, actually. He mostly drew planes, tanks, battleships. He loves designing those crazy contraptions. He was in. It wasn't until 1958, his third year of high school, when the first full-color Japanese animated movie came out called Panda and the Magic Serpent. He was totally head over heels for it. It left a huge impression on him, especially the movie's heroine. Naturally, with such a talented, brilliant mind, just teeming with all these characters and worlds and stories and designs, he was very eager to start working on his stories right away as soon as he got out of school. But everyone has to start somewhere, and he started at Toyer Animation? I don't know. I don't know how it's pronounced. I'll put it on screen here. Um, and he worked mostly as an in-between artist for a lot of movies and TV shows. One of the ones that was very famous he worked on was with a character called Lupin the Third. Don't know much about him. He's supposedly a pervert. I don't know. But the point is, that's how he got his first real movie job, directing and writing The Castle of Cagliostro? I don't know. I'll put it on screen here too. Lots of long words. The point is, Castle of blah 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 was his first real movie. He was in charge of writing, directing, and you can definitely see the style of his animation that he'll later be famous for coming out in this movie. It was apparently made in a very tight time frame, only like 6 months. So this animation is actually really impressive considering the time period, the technology, and just how much time they had to finish it. Like the characters are very expressive, a bit more cartoony than his later movies, but the action scenes are just amazing, and you can really see like the passion that was put into this project. Even though nowadays he says he doesn't like it very much and feels like it could have been done better, but it was his first work. I'm sure everyone said that about their first work. Alright, so now he's made a movie. He's staked his claim, he's stuck his toe in the water, making a name for himself. Now what does he want to do? Well, obviously he wants to do what all writers want to do, which is tell their own stories. He wants to make his own movie with his own characters and his own world. But there's a problem. Just like modern day, most studios won't risk making an entirely new project for someone who doesn't have a huge name for themselves and already proven to be a major success and bringing a lot of money. They only want anime movies that are already based on existing manga. So what does Mr. Miyazaki do? Well, he's like, you want a manga? You want it based on a manga? I'll give you a fucking manga. And he makes his own manga, Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind. So, Miyazaki's manga, Nausicaa, was a huge success. He did very well, and people were very into the character and the story and the world. With a little bit of help from his friend Tamakama Shotin, Ten, God, his name. Um, he started working on getting it made into a film adaptation as long as he could direct it, obviously. He found a small minor studio called Topcraft to animate the film. And by the way, Topcraft did the fucking Last Unicorn and those super weird animated Hobbit movies, which I did not know, so that's kind of a neat side fact.
You mean you do not wish to share a grand adventure?
Dear me, no. We hobbits are plain quiet folk. Adventures make one late for dinner.
Enough. I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
God, those movies are so fucking weird. Anyway, back on subject. Pre-production began on May 31st, 1983. He had a little difficulty creating the screenplay, but the final product was just amazing. It's really one of my favorite movies, personally, and it's the first movie that people consider really his part of the first Studio Ghibli movie, even though he hadn't founded the studio yet. Now, let me just talk about this film real quick because it's just really amazing as like a first film to really get a grasp on what kind of director and animator Hayao Miyazaki is. And I just want you to remember that like these animated movies were all hand drawn on paper and then painted, every single frame. So I mean that's just really impressive. I can't imagine how much work goes into that. I mean, modern day animation is also impressive, but with digital technology it's much easier. It's just a beautiful, beautiful film. It's really amazing. So, Nausicaa was a huge success, and that got him a good bit of money to start laying the groundwork for his new company, Studio Ghibli, or Ghibli, depending on who you are. Um, and that was quickly followed by the first real Studio Ghibli film, Castle in the Sky, which is also another great film. I think Nausicaa is a little bit better, but Castle in the Sky has some great imagery, lots of flying contraptions, and it's a very beautiful, kind of sad story about how nature cannot be contained and greed and humanity and all that. Now, all of these are amazing films, I mean, all of Hayao Miyazaki's films are just fantastic, and I'd recommend watching any of them. Um, But I can't talk about all of them because then you'll be sitting in these chairs for like, I wouldn't even say an hour, I'd say like all day. So instead I want to focus, now that I've gotten his history out of the way, I want to focus on a very interesting technique that I didn't know they used until I started researching this. And you won't believe it, because it's impossible to tell by just watching the films, but past Princess Mononoke, almost every single Studio Ghibli film have used at least 10% of CGI in their film. Now, I figure you're probably wondering what I wondered when I first realized this. How is that possible? I mean, you look at the films and they all look completely hand-drawn, not an ounce of CG in them. There's not really even one film that you can really tell that CG used in. You just, it doesn't look like how you normally think of CG looking. They use all these interesting techniques to use CG as like a model that they put the paintings and drawings they've done on top of. So it's sort of like you ever seen those paper cardboard puppet things? They're sort of like those, only bigger, more detailed. He's been using them. Princess Mononoke was the first one that he finally gave in and used CG for. Um, Hayao Miyazaki was very against the idea, as he liked to keep his films very traditional. He believes in the art of drawing things by hand and painting them. And I think it's very noble, but I mean, he needed to at least take a few steps into future technology because he just would have never finished half of these films without the help that CG gave him. And it gives it a really smooth, slick look because they can move much faster and much quicker than if it was hand drawn with more accuracy. And it's just very fascinating to me to know that and then go back and watch some of my childhood movies and figure out like what it is about them that makes them look so damn amazing. Hayao Miyazaki's work just, it really never ceases to amaze me. Like, I grew up with these movies. I mean, my mom probably shouldn't have let me watch them when I was like 5, because some of them are pretty gory. But I grew up with them. They were my childhood favorites. They were what got me into drawing. And I don't know, there's just something very interesting about actually learning the intricate details and the science behind it. Um, Now, Hayao Miyazaki himself has been pretty up there in the years, and I imagine he's got pretty bad carpal tunnel for working so hard and pushing himself. I mean, it's a known quote from his son that he gets 0 as a father, but 100% marks for being an amazing animator. So, he was always at the office. He keeps saying, this is going to be my last movie, and then I'm going to retire. He keeps saying that, and we never want to see him go, but he keeps coming back to it. He's got such a passion for this work, and he's a huge inspiration to me. And when I eventually reach the point where I'm making stories, I hope that there's some of him in them.